guys, Talia, Bella here. We are here working on our Be Creative subscription box, and so this project is a lot of fun. It's going to give you a chance to do many little projects to create one big project. All right, so this particular one, we have 9 of these mini canvases, and we're just going to do a couple examples of how you can lay them out. But in the end, you're going to lay it out into a full picture. So it's going to be a collage, so a mini canvas collage. All right, so we've got 9 of these mini canvases. You of course have your paintbrushes. You of course have some sponges. We always give you some sponges. You're going to have a sticker paper like this. You are going to have some paints. We're going to give you an assortment of colors as always, but we're going to make sure you have 2 different colors, yellow. You're going to have a black, a white, and then this little packet right here, this is our thickening powder. I'm going to show you what that's for in a little bit, but keep that in mind. And then you're going to have this cool silk screen. This silk screen works like a stencil, and you're going to be able to reuse it over and over and over again for anything, even after today's project. And we're going to show you how to use silk screens. All right, so you're going to want, aside from what we have in your box, you're going to obviously want to lay down your surface cover to keep everything clean. You're going to want your paint clothes to keep your good clothes clean. And you're going to want to get yourself a dish of water to wash out your silk screen. Okay? You're going to want to get a container of water to rinse out your brushes. You're going to ask mom or dad for an old credit card or something that you're going to want to use. Okay? So that's what we're going to need today. And some scissors might be handy too. I'm going to reach over here and grab some scissors, because sometimes these little silk screens are easier to work with if we cut them apart. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is show you how to create this little beehive design. All right, I did a couple of them like that. I used my dark and my light. All right, so we're gonna show you how to do that today. And this is just one of the things you can do. You can do whatever you want, but again, our theme is Be Creative, so we're using these bees. So what you do is you take your bubble wrap, which we'll have in your kit, and you are going to take your sponge, and you're going to dab, dab, dab. Remember, we don't want too much paint, right? And then you are just going to lightly dab onto that bubble wrap. All right, those ones I kind of did on the corner. I think this one I'm going to try to do the whole thing, right? So we're going to lightly, and if you look closely, I'm dabbing it lightly so it's not squishing in between. So this is really bringing out the individual bubbles. And that's going to create kind of like your mock honeycomb pattern. All right. Once you get that all done like that, then you can take your little mini canvas, you lay it down there and gently, ever so gently, push down. We're not squishing down because that's going to make our little bubbles go together, and we're going to lose those individual bubbles. All right. And then we're created a nice little honeycomb, or if you wanted to, you can make it into a leopard, but we're gonna make it a honeycomb. All right, so that's one way you can do one of your backgrounds. Another way you can do your backgrounds is with this little sticker paper that I'm giving you. I've cut some of my sticker paper into strips. Sorry, I should have had this open already, but that's all right. You'll bear with me. All right, so once I get my canvas all ready to go, I'm going to use these strips to make some stripes, right? So I'm going to go, actually, I think what I want to do is I'm going to paint the whole thing yellow first. So my canvas is all painted a solid yellow, and now I'm going to take these little strips, and remember, it's nice and dry. We can dry it extra fast with a hairdryer, and then we're just going to stick these strips on. And I'm sure you can probably guess what I'm doing here. Remember, you could do them this way if you wanted to too. I'm just spacing them out, whatever spacing I like. All right, so once you've got them all on there, you always want to make sure that you push them down. All right, push, push, push. We want to make sure all those little edges are down. We're going to get another sponge, and we're going to take our black. And remember, dark colors on top of light colors work better. If you try to do them reverse, like if we would have painted this black and tried to go over the yellow, it would have worked, but it would have been, probably a little bit harder to cover. So why not just start this way? We don't put a ton of paint, right? It's better to do many light coats than one heavy coat. So we're just going to tap on top, and we're just going straight up and down, because if we go back and forth, we might accidentally pull up that sticker. And what we're doing is we're masking off that area so that when we pull up these stickers, we'll have black and yellow stripes. All right, so once we've got it all covered, we can then just pull up those stickers. And we will be left, oops, that's all right, don't worry. I kind of rushed it, my paint wasn't all the way dry. That's no big deal, guys, don't even worry about it. That's what our brushes are for.
But,
what?
As our friend Bob Ross says, there are no mistakes, just happy accidents, and I think cute. This almost looks like a bee with his wing.
It does. I think Nevada's right.
So you never know what kind of creative things can come out of a little
So yeah, if it does something
blip
like that, it would have a nice little wing look or a little distress look, whatever you want to call it. Or you can always just take your little brush after the fact and just kind of tap it in and fill in those little spots that kind of got pulled up. This kind of thing happens more when you don't let your paint dry completely. And you know, I did rush it with the hair dryer so that I can get going for you guys. So remember, as I've said before, if you've gotten our subscription boxes before, these aren't projects you necessarily want to sit down and do them all in one sitting. Take your time. Make it a multi-day event. There's no reason why you have to finish everything in one shot. All right, let's talk about these silk screens. So I went ahead and cut a couple out because I wanted to show you that you can either use it as one whole piece, okay, or you can cut them out individually. It's kind of a personal preference. You want to try to leave as much space around the edge as possible so that you've got a little room to work with, and I'll show you that in just a second. So I've got an example here of what I did with these guys that were cut out. All right. But the first thing you need to know is when you're working with a silk screen, you can't just use the paint that's in the kit or just any old paint. We need our paint to be a little bit thicker, and that's what this little powder's for, okay? So here you'll see that I've already mixed up some with the black and it's kind of thick and it's been sitting a minute, so I'm gonna add just a little bit of water and kind of smooth it out. But you kind of want it the consistency of peanut butter, okay? So you're just gonna add a little tiny bit of powder at a time to your paint. So you're gonna pour your paint out like that white there, and we're gonna thicken that one up here in a minute. And you're just gonna mix it until it's the consistency of like peanut butter, all right? And so let's mix up this white one. So you're gonna take the edge of a brush or just something small because you don't want too much. You can pause it if you want. All right, so I've got my powder, and it's a little hard to open, so maybe an adult can help you open that. And I'm just gonna use the end of my brush here. It's got a little pointy end. So whatever you can find. And we're not gonna just pour it on. We wanna just kind of scoop just a little bit at a time, guys, just a little bit, all right? And then you can mix it up until it gets kind of thick. And you wanna try to smooth it, okay? And you're gonna have one thing to mix it with and one thing to be able to add some more. So I'm gonna use this brush right now to mix, and now I'm gonna grab myself another brush to scoop, because we don't wanna put our paint in our thickening bag. But see, I'm just adding a tiny bit at a time, because otherwise what ends up happening is you put too much paint, too much powder, and then it just keeps growing and growing. So it's better to start with a little and add more as you need it. So that's a pretty nice consistency there. And the smoother you can get it, so it's not so chunky, the better. Okay, so just like that. So with your silk screen, guys, there is a blue film and then there's a clear film. Okay, it's really important that you keep this clear film because you're gonna wanna save your silk screen to use it over and over and over again, because you can use it on to make cards, to make canvases, to make t-shirts, whatever you want. You can reuse this as long as you take care of your silk screen, and we're gonna show you how to do that here in a minute too. So we're gonna put this guy on here, and I think I'm gonna show you how to do it if we use the whole thing. But again, it's kind of hard when you have to leave the whole thing together, just because you got more to wash and stuff. So when you cut them apart, it can be a little easier. So we're gonna lay him down, and we're gonna rub. And these silk screens are actually kind of sticky on the back. They're not gonna feel sticky to you. But with pressure, the more you rub them, the stickier they get, okay? So you wanna make sure you rub it down really, really good, all right? And you can either use something like a credit card or you can use your finger, okay? And we're gonna use my finger, and I'm just gonna put it over there and I'm gonna swipe it across the top. And sometimes when your silk screens are really close together, like this one and you don't want to get your white in that one, it's easier to use your finger. Okay? And I'm gonna pull them up, and then we got a cute little bee there. And then we can do the same thing with the kind. And I'm using the white because I've got that yellow and black background. So let me show you now with the credit card. So now, again, we're gonna rub it down, get it nice and stuck down there as much as we can. And that's what you're going for. You really want it to kind of seal. And notice we're not gobbing on a bunch of paint, okay? It's a nice thin layer. So we're gonna go ahead and pick some up with our card. So we got some on our card, right? And then we're just going to rub it across. Oh, blooper. I didn't realize I had paint on there, so that's okay. So then we pull it up, and you get the picture. I forgot this guy was wet, and I swiped over the top of him. But what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Nevada, what are we gonna do? We made him swiped over the top of it. What are we gonna do?
I don't know, Mom. I don't know.
She doesn't know. We just talked about it. You make a mistake, you let it dry, you paint over the top of it, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So guys, what I did there, just so you know what happened, is I forgot my bee was still wet, and when I swiped my card, I went over the top of him, and I messed him up. So, but that's all right, no biggie. Like I said, we're gonna let him dry, and then I'm just gonna paint my yellow and my black over him, let that dry, and we're gonna put him back on there again. All right, so I took a minute, I went ahead and fixed that boo-boo that I made. So it's just gonna sit there and dry, and then I'll add that silk screen back on. All right, so we're gonna put that aside. But I wanna show you how to clean your silk screen, and I also wanna show you, if you've got them cut apart, a good way to keep from making a mess with your paints. So what you can do is you can take like something like this to kind of block it off where you don't want it to be. And I'm gonna take my silk screen and I'm gonna stick it on there like this. And what it's doing is, you can see I'm giving myself a little extra edge there, right? And I can do the same thing on this end over here if I wanted to. I can even take a little bit of this guy right here and just kind of stick it right there, just to give me a little bit more wiggle room. Again, we're gonna smooth it all down. I think I'm just gonna use my finger. And I'm just going to go over the top. And so this way, if I go a little too far, see I go off, it's not getting on my canvas, it's just getting on that paper. So anytime you don't have a whole lot of blue on the edge to keep it safe, you can always add a little bit of paper or something there, okay? All right, so now I'm just gonna peel it up. There you go, look at how nice and crisp that guy is. Got a little shadow right there. Whatever, it's no big deal. But like I said, what you can do is mask off. You can also add a little bit of tape to the edge, whatever you need to do to give you a little bit more wiggle room there, okay? Now, cleaning, that's the most important thing now because we want to be able to reuse this silk screen. Remember, it had a little plastic back? Yes, it did. We want to keep that. We want to take our silk screen right after we use it and we're going to put it in some warm water, not hot, and we're going to get a little stiff brush. We're going to hold it down and we're going to gently just go over the top of it like this. All right, and that's just gonna clean everything out because what a silk screen is a stencil, and you see how it's cut out, but those spots that are cut out, there's actually really, really fine mesh in there. So it's got little tiny, tiny holes in there, all right? And we wanna make sure they're not clogged with paint.
So can I leave my silk screen to dry and then wash it?
No, you want to wash it right away. So right after you use it, wash it right away, okay? And then while it's still wet, you wanna add it back to that plastic, all right? And let it dry on that plastic. Now, if you needed to use it again right away, you can kind of shake it to kind of dry it faster, or you can use a hair dryer. If you're gonna use a hair dryer to dry it, you wanna hold it back and not make it really, really hot right on it. Same reason we're only using warm water and not hot, okay? But otherwise, you're gonna let it just dry just like that, and it'll be ready for you the next time you use it. And there you guys go. This is it. This is your canvas collage. This is a way for you to show everybody how creative you can be.